Captain's Log Supplemental. I've been informed that there is a mandatory training on several new system updates at 1800 today. I can only assume this is a ruse to disguise the surprise party, as today happens to be my birthday, and the location is 10 forward. I'm actually quite looking forward to it, as I do love surprises. I particularly enjoy the Klingon birthday opera that Lieutenant Commander Vorles sings. She has quite a lovely voice. I could do without the honey roast that Commander Daniels did for my last birthday, though. It was honestly quite embarrassing. They had this weird cake last time they called cellular peptide cake. I don't know what it was, but it was gross.
Welcome back to another episode of Captain's Log Supplemental. My name is Rob, and as per the usual, I am joined by my co-hosts, Stanford and Chris.
Hello.
Hello.
As well as our producer, Mariah.
Hi there.
Captain's Log Supplemental is a Star Trek rewatch podcast. Each week, we cover another episode of Star Trek, marching ahead in chronological order by star date. We would appreciate you taking the time to rate and review us on your podcast supplier of choice. Those ratings go a long way to help us reach out to other Star Trek fans. So, how are you guys doing today?
Well, Rob, it is, of course, a special occasion that I definitely knew about for like a while. It is...
We had a plan.
It is.
We had a plan.
I didn't know it was today.
Oh my God.
Yes, it is. It is our own Christopher's birthday today.
Oh, shucks.
Happy birthday, Chris.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So I guess you just caught up to the big 3-8, right?
Yeah, that's 38, baby.
Okay.
Oh man, I'm the last of us.
I'm not going to sing because I don't feel like editing that, but it would be funny.
Yes, I already had my friends awkwardly sing to me, so this is fine. I'm fine without it.
I feel like the Enterprise theme song is really appropriate right now.
You know, if we find the right AI, we can probably get the happy birthday song done as an Enterprise song.
Oh.
It's been a long day. This the day of your birth.
They gotta add in the jazzy guitar from season 3, though.
Ding, 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 ding.
So, I definitely wasn't planning on talking about your birthday because, not for reasons. So, friend of the pod, John, right? He's got 2 kids. And his younger kid, Sam, he says to him, and actually, Mariah, I didn't even tell you this. Sam says to him on the 2nd of May, Dad, May 2nd should be Star Trek Day. A la Star Wars Day, which is May 4th. As we all know, May the 4th be with you, yada, yada, yada.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And John goes, why? And Sam says, because the needs of the May outweigh the needs of the 2.
Oh my God.
No, he didn't.
This child is 8. No, 9. I'm sorry. He's 9. He'll be 10
That's
in July.
amazing.
It's incredible. So I think next year for May 2nd, we'll make some memes and we'll try to get those out.
I also have, you reminded me, I have a Star Trek joke. Would you like to hear it?
Of course.
How does Captain Kirk battle insomnia?
How?
He fires futon torpedoes. Alexa told me that one.
I need her to stop.
Sam's was better.
Sam's is much better. So next year, May 2nd, will be Star Trek Day.
All right.
So Hades 2, early access released yesterday as well. And so I managed to play that tonight, which means that my eyes hurt because I forget to blink while I'm playing Hades.
Wait, I thought that came out on Monday.
I'm literally downloading it right now.
Was it Monday? No, I thought it was yesterday. It's either or. No, it was Monday. I'm sorry, it was Monday. Yeah.
He was so excited.
It's pretty fun. It's pretty fun. I was looking at some of the reviews, and I'm like it's like 99% positive. So I'm like, what are negative reviews? And the negative reviews are hilarious because one of them's like, it's just the old game with a different outfit, and the other people are like, this plays nothing like the old game. It's the worst. It's like, okay, so it's fine. It's totally fine.
Yeah, anytime you get up to overwhelmingly positive on Steam, it's a pretty good sign.
Yeah, and when all of the negatives like oppose each other.
I had to laugh because like IGN put out an official review, right? And they're like, we know it's early access. It's still a 9 out of 10.
God damn. And there are some things in there that you can tell is early access. Like the keepsakes don't have art yet. That's pretty much it so far. So yeah, that's been my last 3 hours.
Nice.
It'll take everything in me not to play this while we're recording.
Oh man, Stanford's gonna have so much fun, like editing out all of your little like keyboard strikes.
Oh, I controller Hades.
Oh, do you?
Oh yeah, it's definitely more
it's easier. Yeah, having the stick is helpful because it's a little too quick to not have. Like you can't. Actually, would you use the number key, or the number keys? Would you use WASD to play that?
WASD, yeah. Uh-huh.
That sounds awful because you'd be stuck on the 4 dimensions.
Yeah, it's not good.
Huh.
Yeah. I mean, you could still probably get 8 axes. Just
but not infinite.
No. Yeah, it's just not. Yeah, it's you're not as precise.
And before anyone gets pedantic on me, I know it's not infinite. It's a float variable. I understand.
You're a float variable.
All right, so that was fun.
All right. Anything else fun happening in Missouri other than a certain birthday celebration?
Went to the zoo. That was fun.
The St. Louis or the Kansas City?
Kansas City. We've been to the St. Louis a bunch of times.
Yeah.
Did you come back hungover again?
No, because this time it wasn't brews at the zoo, which is when I went to the Kansas City Zoo in the dark, and they had like all these paper lantern displays set up. It was actually really a fun time. Highly recommend if anybody's in the area. No, we went, during the day with the children, so.
The Kansas City Zoo was
wasted
cool.
at the zoo. What's that?
The Kansas City Zoo is cool. I enjoy it. I enjoyed it when I was a kid.
It's a cool zoo. I think overall I like the St. Louis Zoo better. But it's neat, try something different. I mean, the St. Louis Zoo has the fact that it's free going for it, so there's that. But
I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm sorry that we have standards at the Kansas City Zoo.
That was the one you took us to, right? St. Louis?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was cool. It's so much more open than the Philadelphia Zoo is.
Which is true of the Kansas City Zoo, too, because, there's a lot of flat, empty land that they built it on.
Yeah, It was like the land was, donated by some rich guy.
I believe it was Swope.
Yeah, that's right.
Swope.
So it's a big park, and, there's, a lot of space that's just, not really used, besides just, being trees and stuff. So.
Do you still park in the dirt?
No.
Oh, they actually have lots now. Yeah.
They actually built up around that area, so there's this this cool theater.
Oh,
yeah, it's it's a cool outdoor theater that's right next to the zoo. I've been there for a couple shows. It's neat.
Oh, they put that in the park itself?
Not in the zoo. It's right outside. It's
but is the zoo?
It's a park area. Yeah.
It's next to Swope Park, isn't it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's where they used to do the Ren fairs and all the other shit too.
Yeah, the theater there, it's Star Twilight or Starlight Theater. I can't remember what it's called, but it's like a medieval castle themed. It's actually kind of neat.
I think they used to have a drive-in movie theater there too. Because I think my dad and I used to go to it once in a while. Swope Park was from where because it's on the other side of Kansas City from where we were, so it was a half an hour drive. But it was always nice up there.
Yeah, that was a couple hour drive for us coming from where we're at. So it's a good time.
Well, this is I haven't had any real exciting adventures recently, aside from moving across the country. But this is the first time I'm actually recording in my new office over here on this side of the country again.
How was your new office?
It's very nice. It's inside of my bedroom. Oh, it's nice though. I like this place. It's actually much more open than our last apartment was. So we're just
that's good.
In the process of unboxing everything still.
And it has the distinct advantage of not being in Montana.
It does. It's actually less than 7 minutes from here.
I did like Montana. But I am glad to be back.
Like, did you like it physically or did you like the people?
I liked it physically. The people were like anywhere. They were a mixed bag.
Sure.
There's a very strong anti non-Montanan vibe going on in certain parts of town. Like they really don't like the fact that people are moving in from out of state.
Yeah, they really hate Gaijin over there in Montana.
Yeah, exactly.
Wait, what? Oh, I see. Okay, I see. You were speaking Japanese there for a word. Okay.
One whole word. Yeah, Gaijin is a foreigner. That's the word for foreigner.
Yeah. Can I tell you, Chris, the weeaboo shit I have to put up with?
Oh, here it comes. It doesn't count as weeaboo shit. My parents actually lived there for like 3 years.
It does. So Liam has karate. And part of he does Shotokan, and a part of his belt test, he has to say some Japanese words. And so usually every class, the kids get a sticker to put in their book of a Japanese word. And so the kids at different ranks have a different number of words that they have to say. They can pick what they want. So this motherfucker likes to teach Liam full-ass Japanese sentences to say.
So like, Liam, here, let me teach you how to introduce yourself. That's like 8 words right there, so you'll be good to go.
Dozo yoroshiku onegaishimasu.
They didn't even question him.
Because they don't know.
And I don't think they know yet, but they're going to know that Matthew likes to dabble.
They 100% know I speak Japanese.
Do they?
Yeah, because like when I heard that this was a requirement for his very first test, I was like, hey, he picked some up around the house because of me. Is it okay if he says things that are not like in the book, or do you want him to learn these specific phrases? And Barbara Sensei's like, I don't care.
Yeah, we're like fluent up through grade school level.
Oh yeah. Yeah, if you drop my ass in Japan, I would be okay.
What about that time we dropped your ass at the hibachi grill in Japan and Disney?
And I was fine. I got a little drunk and then made all of the Japanese ladies laugh at me. It was great.
All right. Let's bring this back around to Star Trek here. So this week's episode was season 3, episode 5, Impulse. And judging by the reactions on Discord, I think everybody had a good time with this one. Or it seemed like it anyway.
Hey, don't jump to conclusions. I'm going to save my opinions to the end.
All right. All right. So this week kicks off with Archer bringing a belligerent T'Pol into sickbay, warning Phlox that she was coming too. So she wakes up and immediately begins choking Archer, and then just belts out a classic horror movie scream. Cut to Faith of the Heart.
Straight into a jangly guitar riff. Yeah,
Jesus Christ. So jarring.
So jarring.
So jarring.
My neck is still a little sore from the whiplash on that one.
Yeah.
Like, it was bad before, but man, some of these cold opens, like...
It's worse now.
This is like the darkest that Enterprise has gotten this season. And it's like the jingliest.
Yeah, and their theme song has gotten more upbeat. Yeah, so like it's gotten worse.
I mean, they did kick off the season with like 8 million people being lasered to death, followed into a Faith of the Heart. It's like, I don't know if this is the darkest, but it's pretty damn close. Jesus.
I was just speaking about the season in general being the darkest.
Oh, yeah.
Compared to the first two.
Is.
Yeah.
We're also going to get into a little bit of why of that later on in the deep dive here. So, Raging T'Pol thinks that Phlox is trying to kill her like all of the others, whatever that vaguely means.
All right, foreshadowing.
Sure. Phlox manages to sedate her, and then they like get her into the very quick-moving medical imaging device.
Yeah, that fucker scoots.
Turbo MRI, go.
Okay, and like... Sorry, this is one of my 2 biggest complaints about this episode. I don't think any of this was necessary. The pre-scene where they flash back? Or? Yeah, I'm generally not a fan of that storytelling technique in TV anyways, because, like, I'm here. I'm gonna watch it. You don't need to tease me. But, like, it's just, I don't know, it feels a little clumsy, because it's like, all of this drama, but it's like, then we have to then they literally cut to text on the screen that says 1 day earlier. And it's like,
So
this was not necessary.
what's interesting is I found out that scene wasn't originally intended to be the cold open for this week. It was moved there later.
Yes, I did hear that.
The scene at the end, which we'll get to later, was added in to make up for lost time.
And that's the other major complaint, is that one at the end, which I'll get to when we get there.
Yeah.
To be clear, the original cold open was also not a good idea.
Did you hear what the original ending was?
Yes, that was even worse.
Yeah.
Christine,
what was the original cold open? We don't have to get to the original ending first, but
the original cold open was that they were going to show like a normal day on the Vulcan ship right before it all went down for them. And I don't know. I don't feel like that's a useful shift in tone. What we do and don't know is well done here. And I think that putting us on the Vulcan ship prior to that would ruin that balance.
Yeah. Plus, it's like a lot to try to establish that before.
Yeah.
Like, it seems like as a cold open, that seems like
a lot.
Too much.
I think that.
I think,
oh, sorry. Go ahead, Rob.
I was going to say, I think, spoiler alert, this is a zombie episode. I think what they should have done was the Shaun of the Dead thing, where they had some random tech over on the Vulcan ship, just kind of moseying about his day, not realizing that the rest of the crew was turning into zombies around him until it was far too late.
Well, I think they should have just started with the stuff that happened right after 1 day earlier. Just cold open is hey, we're getting a signal from what looks to be a Vulcan ship coming up. That's weird. Let's go take a look. And then they get there and the ship's all fucked up inside the asteroid field. Faith of the heart. That would have been better.
I feel like that's a good enough of a hook for this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm agree. I didn't mind it, I think, as much as you did, but I think generally I agree with you. It was a bit unnecessary.
Yeah. So we do cut back to 1 day earlier with Trip and Archer talking about how the morale of the crew is at an all-time low. People are evidently skipping meals, and Trip's worried that they are just generally overworked and stressed due to the nature of their mission. T'Pol joins them, and Trip invites her to the very recently, as in the prior conversation, reinstated movie night. Which does come back again later. I just realized it's kind of like what is it, Chekhov's gun? What's the name of the gun?
Yeah, Chekhov's gun. Yeah, Chekhov's movie night.
Gun.
Yeah.
Chekhov's movie night.
At first I was like, did he just ask her out on a date? Is this going to be the first, little
That's where
move?
I thought this was going.
But he was sitting behind her at the actual movie night, so obviously that was not the intent.
Yeah. With his second best bro in the whole world. Not Reed.
Oh, I was going to say, was it Reed?
It's Phlox.
Okay.
Oh, that's right, it was Phlox, yeah.
Yeah.
So if it was Reed, that'd be so he could check out T'Pol's bum.
Yep. Yeah. Hoshi contacts them and lets Archer know about a Vulcan distress signal that they've recently picked up. T'Pol says she recognizes the signal, which in the moment sounded really weird until you find out later that it's because she served on the vessel. But it belongs to a Vulcan ship named the Saleha that entered the Expanse 9 months prior to Enterprise going in.
Which seems really recent, given that the Vulcans are this place is scary. But I think I heard a piece of dialogue later that was they accidentally fell through the Expanse,
yes,
into the Expanse. Although, I don't know. It doesn't seem like it's that hard to get out. You just gotta go back,
You would think. So the signal is originating from inside a particularly dense asteroid field. Bonus, though, the asteroids all have large amounts of Trillium-D ore inside of them.
There's Trillium in them there fields.
Yeah. So Archer asks Trip to see if he can harvest any while he leads the away team in a shuttle pod further into the asteroid belt, because it was too big, or it's too dense for Enterprise, but Archer's a crack pilot. He can get through.
Yeah, I don't know why Archer was flying. It was why? It's standard Star Trek nonsense. Why is the captain going on this? But whatever.
He was a test pilot, as we recently learned.
Yeah, a decade ago, and he kind of sucked at it. But anyways, This is the first moment where this episode took like a pretty good turn because they interwove the A and B plot very well.
Yeah, agreed.
They did.
They were both very like very nicely paralleled one another. Both in like timing, but also in like geography. They just did a good job with that.
Yeah. Two other notes here. This next scene where Archer's steering them through the asteroid field. I really liked a couple of things about this. One, the CGI was like on point this episode the whole way through. They did a really good job.
It was a fun CG sequence there.
Yeah, and then two, the practical effects in the background when like a bit of like stray asteroid rock bounced off the hull of the shuttle pod, and you can actually see the sparks in the one window behind Archer and team.
Yeah.
Like, the team must have had a really fun time with this episode because like their passion really showed through in a lot of little ways that it doesn't in other episodes. It was very cool. Yeah, at this point, this is when T'Pol mentions that the Saleha was her last station before, moving to the Vulcan consulate on Earth. We cut back to Trip and Travis transporting some Trillium. That is a lot of T's on board.
Trip Travis transporting some Trillium. Interesting.
Yeah.
I was originally like, well, and I still kind of am. I was like, why is Archer piloting this shuttle pod? And then we cut back to here, and I'm like, why the fuck is Travis running the transporter? Like, that's not his job.
Listen, he has a hobby in engineering.
It's one of those things where I get that like Travis is a main character. Did we see Reed on camera at all in this episode?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, aboard the Vulcan vessel. Because he's a part
was
of the
on the
that's
team.
right. He was over there. I forgot about that.
Yeah, it was him, Mako Dude, T'Pol, and Archer.
Secondary
I saw Mako Dude like in the back of the shuttle. I'm like, oh, this dude's definitely dying.
I thought so too. Hoggins or whatever the fuck his name is. Like, he's just some random dude. But like, I don't know. It seemed like you could either just have Trip. I don't know. It's just weird to have Travis down here because, like, I know he's a main character, but also this is not his job. It seemed like Hoshi would have been a better pick because then she could be like, well, there's nothing to translate on the dead Vulcan ship, so I've got some free time and I'll help you out with this transporter thing. Because I assume we still need to pilot the ship near this dangerous asteroid field.
I was just laughing that they brought like this like shoddy plastic cart to load ore onto.
Hey, it worked. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, I mean, only because they only got to put the one rock on it. So yeah, they try to beam in a bigger rock the second time, and it winds up jamming the transporter up with a bunch of other smaller rocks for some reason.
There was like an anomaly bend.
Yeah,
it's Trillium shenanigans.
Yeah. I gather that there was an anomaly that kind of washed through the transporter pad and like fucked it all up.
Yeah. So Trip and Travis decide to have Travis try to land on one of the bigger asteroids and mine it more directly. And that's what kicks off the rest of the B plot there. Meanwhile, back with the away team, a very serious Archer tries to hail the Saleha crew with no response. Surprise, surprise. A few of their decks have totally decompressed, but T'Pol is still picking up biosigns aboard.
I'm not surprised. If you look at the outside of the ship, like half of it is just girders anymore. Like,
yeah, right.
There's several large holes. So they dock and head aboard with no EVA suits because what's life without a little risk? They find some evidence that the Vulcans were trying to line the deck with Trillium. They have like a half-painted bulkhead, and clearly they didn't get very far into the process. This again, really, really great lighting effects on this set.
Yeah, so I originally called them epileptic lighting, and they were like pretty bad.
Oh yeah.
But I did also notice, I'm like, the camera work here actually isn't bad. Like, they do pretty good shots. The angles are good. Coming around corners and stuff is nice. You can kind of follow the action well. There's a good sense of where they are.
Though.
But the blinking strobe was a little much.
Yeah. So, moving further into the vessel, Reed and Mako guy find some Vulcan blood smeared across one of the bulkheads. On the other side, Archer and T'Pol hear something banging on a door in their hallway. T'Pol picks up a single biosign and bypasses the door security because
she does that with her panel works. Her panel prying nails.
And a very unfriendly Vulcan comes out swinging with a pipe, which is a theme in this episode.
So did you see the weapon? It's like a half of a gear on the end of a pipe.
Yes.
Like, what possible spare part could this be?
Hey, it's the future, Chris.
Yeah.
When you say a gear, was it like a cog, you mean? That kind of gear? Oh, that's funny. I didn't notice. Because my notes here were Violent Vulcan, Act 2. Fucking zombie Vulcans.
Yeah, so unsurprisingly, Archer incapacitates the pipe-wielding Vulcan with a Faith's pistol. T'Pol is visibly shaken by the experience. They discover that the Vulcan's synaptic pathways had taken a lot of damage, so a lot of neurological damage. 2 more Vulcans appear in the hall further down and start heading menacingly towards Archer and T'Pol.
They were doing their best zombie.
Yeah. Well, they still had pipes, though.
Yeah.
Because apparently these are pipe zombies.
Yeah, and to be clear, these aren't like shuffling undead zombies. They're like, I don't know, like businessmen, like who really have a meeting to get to, walking zombies. Like they are stern, like not running, but definitely like somewhere to go zombies.
Yeah. So Archer warns Reed and the Mako guy just before they come under attack by more pipe-wielding Vulcans, and they manage to stave them off. Archer orders a retreat, and
I have a question.
Okay.
Why are the combat rifles shittier than the sidearms?
Right.
It took like 3 or 4 shots with the combat rifles to drop a zombie, whereas one little pew from the pistol did it.
It's the stun setting on rifles. It's either kill or tickle. That's it.
Or yeah.
No. It's like video game logic. You know, the pistol, because it only fires 1 shot at a time, does more damage than the assault rifle.
I gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. Mako guy decides that he wants to switch from stun to kill. T'Pol angrily berates him and orders him not to kill any of the Vulcans on board. And Archer confirms her order. And then Mako dude finally relents. They come across a few more angry Vulcans who lock them in a corridor and then release a bunch of their friends into attack. Because apparently they're smart zombies.
There's like
they come out
Bob and Jim bouncers going to go.
Yeah, they come across these 2 Vulcans, and I'm like, one Vulcan tells the truth. The other Vulcan also tells the truth, but in a douchey way. They're just like standing there guarding like their shuttle door.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know if you noticed, but as the other zombies came out, one of them had a pistol and was just fucking firing, but he was not a good shot. It's just fucking Vulcan pistol fire going goddamn everywhere as the zombies like,
They're like, what game was it that had zombies that had guns, but they couldn't shoot well? Oh, yeah, it's like the Flood from Halo. You know, every once in a while you get like the human ones that have the assault rifles, they just fire
into
wildly.
The sky.
Yeah. But like every once in a while they'll hit you. The Enterprise crew scrambles into a maintenance hatch to get away, but not before Mako dude gets injured. Reed wants to patch him up, but zombies be about, so they try to move on as quickly as they can.
Reed says we need to patch him up, so they're like, well, we have to go to the medical bay because apparently they didn't bring a single fucking first aid kit.
Nah,
like a Band-Aid, nothing.
Nope. Dude, they didn't even bring EVA suits on a ship that's partially decompressed.
I don't know, but like, that's fine. Whatever. Like, I understand we gotta be able to see their faces and shit. But like, it's a Marine. You know what's a standard thing that all Marines carry with them when they're going into places? A fucking IFAK.
Tourniquet.
Like, yeah. Tourniquet. Well, I mean, some of those have those, but like just a first aid kit.
Yeah, a little trauma kit.
Okay.
Yeah, it's got like some gauze, some gloves, and like, a thoracentesis kit, and that's pretty much it.
Yep. So this is the point of the episode where shit starts to get real. T'Pol warns Archer that she may be, being affected by whatever assaulted the rest of the crew. So she's been experiencing extreme anxiety ever since they came aboard, and it seems like we finally found something the humans are resistant to for a change.
Mm.
So cut back to the B plot. Travis makes a dicey landing on the asteroids. Another very fun CGI scene.
This was great because like they're coming up on this asteroid and Trip's like, watch out for that rock over there. He's like, I'm going to go in for a landing. He's like, okay, watch out. He's like, okay, I got it. And then we cut outside and he literally smashes his way to a landing.
Well, the best part is like after that, Travis like says, oh, what did he say? Like, I hope you don't put this on your record of the mission.
Yeah.
And then Trip's like, I'm going to get you a medal.
Yeah. It was a pretty hard landing, I guess, because like the asteroid's moving relatively unpredictably.
Yeah. So he and Trip both exit the shuttle pod and start mining some Trellium. Back aboard the Saleha, a Vulcan attacks the Mako from the tactically superior position of the ceiling.
That was my exact note.
But unfortunately for him, Rita's gun.
There were so many tactical Vulcan zombies in this episode.
There were.
The problem is that they didn't have like weapons. They just had like pipes or whatever at the most.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So they couldn't really use their ceiling advantage. Yeah.
So they do get to the Vulcan medical bay along with a stunned Vulcan zombie. T'Pol recognizes him from her tour aboard the Saleha, but she can't calm him down enough to have a conversation.
We also get like a closer look at his like trillium herpes. They're gross.
Oh god, it was trillium herpes, wasn't it?
Uh-huh.
You know, and I will say they never did really explain what happened to their fucking faces because like the condition
I think it was just to make them creepy.
Right, which is fine, but like the condition they describe only affected their brain. I don't know what happened. I don't know why they got lesions and shit.
I don't know.
Trillium herpes.
So T'Pol at this point starts to panic, and this is like, it's really cool when we get to see a little more of Jolene Blalock's like acting range.
Oh yeah.
And she did a really good job in this episode.
In a little bit later scene, my note is Blalock is criminally wasted being on this shitty show. Like,
yeah.
When they're on the bridge, she's doing an amazing job.
Yeah. So she starts to panic, and you know she's worried that she's going to lose control of herself, like the rest of the Vulcan crew had. Her and Archer come up with a plan to make it to engineering to unlock the bulkheads that are now sealed by Vulcan zombies with intelligence. So they need to get there, unlock the bulkhead so they can get back to the shuttle pod. Reed and Archer continue on to engineering and leave the Mako to keep an eye on T'Pol. Meanwhile, Mako and T'Pol have a heart-to-heart about some Vulcan history. She reveals that the Vulcans almost annihilated themselves due to their violent tendencies, much like humanity, and almost done the same before, learning to suppress their emotions. Archer just kicks a couple Vulcans into submission because
he punches the one out of
phase pistol.
Punches the shit out of the one before he starts curb stomping it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to point out, aren't Vulcans supposed to be like way stronger than humans?
Yeah, did you see how many punches it took?
And later on too, Archer very easily
you know what it is though? It's like
overpowers T'Pol.
The trillium herpes really weakens them. That's what's happening here.
Yeah. I mean, hey, when your synapses start getting affected, you're gonna get a little like muscular degeneration because you lose the innovation and shit.
Yeah, weakness is an emotion.
Science.
Yeah,
we'll go with that.
Yeah. So back in B plot world, Travis and Trip get a rude disturbance from a spatial anomaly. It grabs the asteroid on and chucks the whole thing into a denser part of the asteroid field. So Travis manages to scramble back into the shuttle pod with Trip and lifts off just in time, but they lose one of their thrusters in the process.
Yeah. They have debris stuck in the intake manifold. Yep. I don't know what they're intaking. They are in space. There is no, that probably should have just been closed.
They forgot to switch it off. It's just, what happened.
Yeah. So Archer and team make it to engineering, only to find that the controls have been damaged. So Archer phones back home to Trip and asks him to make it over to the Saleha to help with repairs. He also has Trip forward the biosigns that they've captured so far over to Phlox for evaluation.
And this is one of those times where the B plot was so well threaded because Archer's like, I need you to come pick us up. And Trip is like, fucking can't. Our shuttle just got broke because we were doing some shit. So like it's really well done right there.
I did appreciate too that Archer didn't start yelling at him for no reason, because that's what I was expecting was going to happen.
Right.
He does like to do that.
This is going to sound like Scott Bakula didn't do a bad job in this one. I don't know if it's just the lighting or like vaguely barely under control in a stressful situation is just really inside Scott Bakula's range, but he was like very convincing this whole episode.
I also I think part of it is that he wasn't the lead in this. It was to Paul, like Julian.
He B-listed very well. Yeah, that might be.
Yeah, he has a particularly poignant line that might be like the best one-liner Archer has had in the entire show so far. But yeah, we'll get to that in a minute here. T'Pol starts getting more and more irate as Reed makes a mistake with the repairs.
To summarize her lines, Reed, you fucked it up just like you always do.
Yeah.
Should have been watching your dumbass.
Yeah. And so her Trellium-induced paranoia starts getting the better of her here. And she just whips out a phase pistol on Archer and Reed. And I think this is what you were talking about, where like this scene was just awesome.
She does incredibly well here. Bakula does good. Not just good enough, but good. Yeah. And my only comment was, why the fuck does she still have a weapon?
Well, it is interesting because she was definitely self-aware about it from like the start.
Yeah,
that she was losing control.
Right.
And, like, the funny thing here is like Reed notes that her pistol is set to kill. Like, how does he note that?
He sees the boop switch.
To be fair, I think it is well understood that like Starfleet weaponry always is very clear when it is set to kill or stun, even to the person you're shooting at.
Oh, like, interesting. Okay.
I would, that feels like the kind of safety and mercy measure that Starfleet weapons would do. I don't know if you noticed, but like when the Mako guy switched his gun, there was a louder and more obvious alarm when he switched his to kill, and then when he switched it back to stun, it had a much softer noise. Like I don't know if it was intentional, but that is good, like, common sense for how Starfleet would operate in my opinion.
On top of that, I don't think that it's out of the ordinary for just firearms. Like if you've seen like the safety switch on firearms in general, like in real life, when they're, when the safety's off, it's usually like painted red, like there's it's visible that the safety is off. So if you're looking, if you know where to look, it's pretty easy to see.
Right. And plus, I mean, theoretically, he is like basically the leading expert on these weapons. So he would know better than anyone else, right?
True. Yeah, and this is another really great part of writing in the episode. I feel like Enterprise is at its best when they're circling back to things that they've already established and building on them. So the whole motivation behind why T'Pol is like freaking out about this now is she's worried that Archer is trying to take revenge on the Vulcans aboard because Vulcan High Command had tried to keep the NX-01 from launching, and they tried to shelve the project.
And I don't think, and like obviously
his dad's legacy,
right? And obviously this is like paranoia induced like mania, but it is interesting that's what they chose, not like in that one episode where Trip was like, "There's fucking alien rock people, Captain." Like it wasn't just nonsense, It was actually like real interpersonal drama that they have.
Yeah. Sorry, I just lost my place in my notes. Hang
on. This is where the zombies get really, really, really smart and just start deactivating systems and things that are really important.
Yes. Yeah.
Which, I mean, they're Vulcans, so I guess that makes sense.
They also start like knocking on the door with their pipes, which provides Archer a distraction. So T'Pol like notices the knocking, turns, and then Archer just very quickly disarms her to de-escalate the situation. Meanwhile, back on Enterprise, Phlox has finished his investigation, and he realizes that Trellium-D is actually a neurotoxin to Vulcans. So that was the the whole crux of this episode, I guess. So yeah, this is the point where the Vulcans start cutting out comms and they flood the engineering compartment with hexafluorine, which
I was like, oh no, hexafluorine. Now they won't have an ozone layer. I don't know what hexafluorine does, but like it sounds like those CFCs or whatever.
So it's funny, like I looked it up because I was like, what is this? I don't know what it does in its gaseous form that we see here. I mean, clearly it's toxic to humans, or so we're led to believe, but it looks like they use it with like a decon for certain types of acid, like in industrial accidents. They'll use it on people to like, I guess, neutralize the acid.
Interesting.
Yeah. Fluoric acid. Yeah. Malcolm finishes up his work just as the Vulcan zombie hands start forcing the door open. Really great little capture there of like all the hands just reaching in and then pulling the door open.
Pretty classic like zombie movie trope, but like well executed. No, like, you know, there are reasons that things like that are trope, and they do a good job with it here.
Yep. Yeah, so they managed to escape into another maintenance corridor up above the room this time. The Soleil House starts taking more and more structural damage from the asteroids in the belt now. T'Pol, meanwhile, is still struggling with her paranoia as Archer tries to get her off the ship. Archer and Reed use a girder as a bridge to make their way across a broken hallway. At this point, Archer just winds up stunning T'Pol with the phase pistol after she refuses to cross the bridge.
Because she weighs like 80 pounds. Just carry her.
Yeah.
But like, I will say, to this show's surprising credit, like they could have gotten stupid horny with T'Pol, like wrestling with them and stuff and resisting, and they did not. Yeah. So kudos. I know it's a low bar,
lack
but this
of horny
show,
this episode.
Yeah, it's a low bar, but this show really struggles to clear it. So
yeah. So he makes his way across the bridge while Reed and Mako Dude cover their escape. Reed sends the Mako ahead as he provides cover to the rear.
I thought this is where he was going to die.
I did too. I did too. So I have a question. Did they actually get the bulkheads open, or were they just like, fuck it, let's go, and they just happened to be open? Because like it seemed like the problem kind of went away in a weird way.
No, so that's where, right when you get that classic like zombie movie hand shot, it looked like Reed had finished whatever he was trying to do.
Oh, okay,
right before
I missed
they
that.
jumped up to the escape corridor.
I was probably typing a note. Okay, I missed that particular thing. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, we all expected Mako Dude to die. He almost does get pushed off the bridge by like creepy Vulcans, like reaching their hands up through the walls of the corridor at him.
But he kicks that motherfucker in the face.
Yeah. So yeah, like he eventually does get across though. Reed then skedaddles as he does his way across, and they make it back to the shuttle pod. Only to find out that the docking clamps have been jammed.
All right, I've decided
docking clamps again.
I've decided that the shuttle pod Mark II needs to have a docking clamp facing phaser, because it seems like they really struggle with that.
Yeah. Yeah, fortunately for them, Trip and Travis show up just in the nick of time and blast them free with their phase cannons on their shuttle pod. Back aboard Enterprise, Archer orders Trip to stash the Trillium in a biohazard container until Phlox can inoculate T'Pol from its effects.
Because they did get enough Trillium to cover the ship.
Yep. Yeah, important note there. So Phlox says that Archer got T'Pol back in the nick of time and that she will be able to be healed. But unfortunately, the rest of the Vulcans were too far gone.
Conveniently.
Yeah.
It's like, it's totally, guys, don't worry. It's totally cool. We can blow them up. No bad feels. It's fine.
It would have been interesting if like one or two of them had been able to been saved, and then they would have a couple more Vulcans on board. I feel like that might have been a missed opportunity there. That could have been cool.
Yeah, but then you lose your excuse that they're all too far gone.
That was what I was about to say. You kind of lose that convenience there.
Yeah. So T'Pol tells Archer to drop her off the next habitable planet so that they can insulate the ship with Trillium D to protect the rest of the crew. Archer, of course, refuses and delivers one of the best one-liners of Enterprise so far. I can't try to save humanity without holding on to what makes me human. This is like some of the best acting Bakula has provided for this entire show.
This scene is the part where I wrote, where have these fucking writers been the whole time?
Also,
right?
The dialogue between Archer and T'Pol was damn near perfect.
Also, why didn't the episode end here?
There's a reason. There is actually a reason.
Is it a dumb reason? I feel like it's a dumb reason.
Dumb is the wrong word. I think we'll get into it. Is this your deep dive, Rob, or we'll get into it in a second?
We're going to talk about the writers and the director of the episode. We weren't going to bring that up. So do you want to tell him what the original ending was?
So the original ending, and this is where I'm surprised that Braga was the one who said don't do this. Yeah. The original ending had Archer and T'Pol kissing right here, which would have been a fucking mistake.
Yeah.
The reason that the show did not end right here was because they were short on film time. They didn't have enough film for what they needed. So they added in the whole next bit of sequence, which is funny because, I have a note in here that says, this feels kind of clumsy, but I guess it's all right. And then I realized, there's an explanation for why this feels clumsy. So they actually ended up reshooting.
See, this is one of the things that is nice about how TV is done these days in streaming is that there's no runtime that has to be met.
Yep.
Although
they don't have to worry about commercial times or anything.
Without the TV or without the movie night, we wouldn't have gotten the excellent line, then use logic more quietly.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, even if they had ended the movie or ended
that would have also been okay, but they needed more time.
Yeah, they could have ended with the cutesy movie scene. Fine. I don't care. Would have been a better note if you ended it with the, Archer's line there. But
right, and I'm guessing that what happened was they ran out of time because, as Rob's going to talk about, the writers were not prolific writers for this show at the time, but also they lost that sequence in the cold open that took up that time. So they were short, as I understand it, by 5 minutes or whatever. So that's why they had to do this.
The director also noted that he was he tended to shoot things very fast.
Yes. The director clearly shot things in a tight way, which...
Who was the director?
Yeah.
Was why this worked so well.
The director was David Livingston.
The name sounds familiar.
There's a reason for that.
Okay.
Which we'll also get into in the deep dive here.
All right.
So yeah, as Stanford mentioned, we got this very fun movie. Well, very fun movie scene where they're back in the mess hall. They're having another movie night. Trip and Phlox are kind of going back and forth about who potentially the villain in the movie that we're watching is. And T'Pol shushes them, and Trip mentions part of the fun of the mystery is trying to solve it before it ends using logic. A clear shot at the Vulcans, right? To which T'Pol very poignantly responds, "Then use logic more quietly." Great line. Archer then calls a tactical alert and orders crew to stations. We see these intruders whooshing by T'Pol in the hallway in a really weird way. As she tries to make her way to the bridge, she hops in the elevator where she's then surrounded by infected Vulcans, but turns out to be a nightmare. And she wakes up back in sickbay with Phlox trying to calm her down. And then the episode ends.
Again, clumsy, but I'll it's okay. I understand what happened, and it's fine.
Yeah, I mean, I think it certainly makes more sense now that I have the context of what happened there, because it's totally unnecessary, but obviously necessary to fill the time, I guess. But I feel, I guess you're at that point, you haven't shot enough. You don't really have much choices besides just tacking on a little bit extra. You can't
and I guess
go back and input.
Well, they had already broken down the set because the Vulcan ship was a set on a different studio, so they had already broken down that set by the time they realized they needed more filler. So they were really limited on what they were able to do. That's why it all happened on the Enterprise.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So let's get to ratings then. What did you guys think of this week?
On a scale from 1 to 5, where 0 is threshold.
That's correct.
You want me to go first, Chris, or you want to go first?
I'll go first. I despite my few complaints that I had, I really enjoyed the episode. It was a fun watch. As you said, I think the dialogue in this show was great. So it's a 4 for me.
Stanford.
Ladies and gentlemen, get your bingo cards ready because I'm gonna give this one a 5.
Oh, snaps.
Let me put it this way. This is by far not only the best episode of this show to date, without a doubt. It's actually just genuinely and objectively a well-told story. All of the obstacles were both reasonable and interesting. And then like added to that, because like you also had to take this episode in the context of like the larger arc that's happening. And the twist that Vulcans have a reaction to Trillium D was a brilliant hitch to the MacGuffin that they've been on for the last few like episodes.
Right.
And because I was really worried that when Trip and Travis were coming back with the Trillium D, that like something was just going to happen. It's like, oh man, we lost our fucking stash again. And so the fact that that wasn't it, is that the pursuit of the MacGuffin for the overall arc has shifted in an interesting way was very, very clever and very well done. And like I said, just the B plot and the A plot worked so perfectly well together. The plot for the episode didn't waste time on like unnecessary scenes. It was tight. It was well told. Jolene acted her ass off. And Scott Bakula did an okay job. Scott Bakula did a good job. Reed kept his mouth shut, which is really very helpful. It just like every single strength that this show has came out in this episode. Yeah,
like this to me, it's funny because it was tied into the main plot of this whole arc, like you were saying. But it's clearly a filler episode, but this is the best kind of filler episode, right?
I'm not sure I would agree that it's a filler episode. I think it is maybe a lower stakes serial episode. It's not like Dead Stop. Like it's not just straight filler.
Right.
It is like, because they are in the Expanse to do what they are doing now, and then they were doing it, and it affected the overall arc. I think the fact that this wasn't just filler really added to why I liked it so much.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. I also wanted to give this one a 5. So this is the second episode I've given a 5 to, with Carbon Creek being the other one.
Yeah, my favorite thing about this episode is how much better than Carbon Creek it is. And you know what? And the other thing. Oh, I'm sorry, Chris. You go ahead.
No, I was just saying. I'm sticking with my 4, but there was just a couple little things that kept it from a 5. I would say it's a high 4 for me, but there's just a couple few things that kept it from there.
Yeah, and I definitely I was gonna give it a 4. I was like, man, it's almost a 5. And then when I thought about it as I was getting to the end, and as I was kind of looking into the director and the writers and stuff, I was like, you know what? I think this could be a 5. I was genuinely enjoying watching it, not just like, this is pretty good Star Trek. No, this was just good. And fuck, what was I gonna say? God damn it. Well, that's gone forever.
Awesome. All right, we will. We're going to take a little break here, and we'll be back for this week's deep dive. All right, welcome back. So, as we mentioned before, we were chatting a little bit about this episode in Discord after Stanford has finished his watch through earlier today, and I think it's fair to say that we all enjoyed it quite a bit. Stanford spoke very highly of the writing, and I particularly enjoyed the direction of this episode. Everything felt just very purposeful and tightly coordinated in a way that a lot of episodes aren't. So for this week's deep dive, I wanted to look into the production of this week's episode, the 2 writers, and the director who was behind it. So yeah, this was a fun one, I think, because they went into this week with a plan to do a zombie episode, and they just went all in on it from the get-go. It sounds like the showrunners approached the director, David Livingston, who was very excited at the prospect of doing a zombie episode of Star Trek.
Okay, so who is David Livingston?
So David Livingston...
he was actually the first Brit to scale Mount Everest.
Fuck off.
David Livingston is one of the most storied directors of Star Trek, like across all time.
Okay.
He has directed a total of 62 episodes of Star Trek across all series, making him the most prolific director in the entire franchise.
Okay. Yeah, because like I don't pay too much attention to directors until we started doing this podcast.
Yeah.
So that makes sense. Because I've seen the name a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. He apparently got started as a supervising producer on TNG. And then got his directorial debut in TNG as well with the episode The Mind's Eye. That's the one where LaForge is taken prisoner by Romulans and gets reconditioned to assassinate a Klingon.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was a fun one. He also has directorial credits in DS9, Voyager, and Enterprise. Enterprise was the last of the series that he was a part of.
Most recently,
actually,
I think it was Regeneration, which I found kind of an amusing note because he's like, for this episode, he's like, I finally get to do horror in Star Trek. And I'm like, aha. So Regeneration was not supposed to be horror.
Nope. Yeah, most of his episodes were in Voyager. He had 28 episodes of Voyager under his belt.
Interesting.
It's like an entire season, essentially. There's also a couple of Easter eggs, but my favorite is Picard's lionfish. Livingston was named after him.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah. So yeah, as Stanford mentioned, he's directed a couple other episodes of Enterprise that we've seen so far. Funnily enough, Stanford, he directed the Rock People episode, Strange New World.
That is funny.
He did Shuttlepod 1, the first Trip and Read bromance episode.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Detained with Hey, It's Al from Quantum Leap.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and then, as you mentioned, he did Regeneration, and also The Seventh, another really good T'Pol episode.
So, I know, and I've known Star Trek has many directors throughout it, the various series, and is that a common thing that shows do to have like more than one director for different episodes of the show? Is that normal?
Yes.
Yeah. So the reason you're probably asking that question is because that was more normal back when shows had a lot more episodes.
Sure.
Nowadays, when we have streaming shows that are like only a handful of episodes, sometimes one director will handle like an entire season or something. But even shows like Mandalorian, like Taika Waititi directed one, and Jon Favreau directed a few.
Okay.
I think for the Game of Thrones show, like D&D were the showrunners, but I think they had several directors that came through on some of those seasons. Gotcha. So like it does still happen, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it happens a lot. It happens a lot in TV in particular.
Mm-hmm.
The Good Place. I listened to the Rewatch podcast and they had a whole bunch of the directors on. There were some that like came back for multiple episodes, but there were a lot of people at the helm of those episodes.
Interesting.
There was, and I don't think it happens as much anymore again because of how tightly scripted like streaming shows are these days. But there used to be there was this era of like the guest directors. So like Quentin Tarantino directed a couple episodes of CSI, for example. Like that used to be a thing too.
Yeah,
makes sense.
Yeah. David Livingston is kind of like a legend among Star Trek directors. He was the, I don't want to say the impetus behind the episode, but like he got everyone on board from the writers all the way to the director of photography and really made this episode into something special, I think. They said that like the costume tags for the extras that played the Vulcan zombies even said like Vulcan zombie on them, even though nowhere in the script does it say that these are Vulcan zombies. And Jolene herself said that she really loved this episode. Apparently filming it was a lot of fun.
Well, I'm sure she like, as we said before, she definitely got to show off her acting chops quite a bit more, which I'm sure is refreshing, especially for her character because,
Vulcans
inherently aren't motional, right? So they don't really get to act, more than one way a whole lot.
Yeah. So Impulse was written by two writers, Jonathan Fernandez and Terry Metalis, both of whom, as Stanford mentioned, were relative newcomers to at least writing for Enterprise at the time of airing. Fernandez wrote 12 episodes of Enterprise in total.
No.
All in order.
No. He was a story editor for 12 episodes. This is the only episode he actually wrote.
Oh.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. It said that he had writing credits for the first 12 episodes of season 3.
I don't know if story editing counts as a writing credit per se.
Oh, maybe.
But he definitely, he has credits in those episodes. But this is the only one where the story by was Jonathan Fernandez.
Gotcha. Okay. So yeah, all the ones that he's at least associated with are from season 3, from episode 1, The Zindi, through episode 12, Chosen Realm. I'm still a little mad at him for Rajin, but we'll see how the rest of the season goes before we can give a final judgment on his work here. And that's all of his association with Star Trek. Metalis, on the other hand, was a production associate on the last 2 seasons of Voyager, and then all 4 seasons of Enterprise. And he received writing credits on this week's episode, as well as Stratagem, which is episode 14 of this season. He later went on to do some background acting work for the franchise, wrote a script for a TNG comic book, did some background artwork for Enterprise, wrote, produced, and then show ran the second and third seasons of Picard. And he provides the voice of the computer aboard the USS Titan in that series too.
Interesting.
Yeah,
he's also he's a background actor as a member of the Enterprise D's crew at the end of Enterprise in the last episode there.
Yeah, he has writing credits in those seasons of Picard. He did not write the whole seasons. He has he wrote 5 episodes.
Oh yeah,
some of them with other people, but a couple by himself.
Yeah. Yeah, so it was funny because when Stanford asked in Discord, where have these writers been? They're literally brand new to this.
Yeah, and
funny.
Metalis has other credits, but Fernandez is so obviously underused. Because he doesn't actually have that many credits on IMDb, period. And it's too bad because he obviously can write an episode. He can put together a story. Yeah. It's really too bad that it took until season 3 for them to use this talent that they've had. They just didn't use it because this episode was staggeringly good for this show.
That's a good one.
That's what I wanted to say in the last segment. I am surprised I've never heard of this episode on any lists.
So when I did the Halloween potpourri where we were or deep dive when we were talking about famously horror themed episodes, that's the type that this episode seems to crop up on a lot.
Oh, okay.
It's made a lot of top lists for best horror in Star Trek.
Interesting.
But I don't know.
I think Enterprise gets passed over for good reason for top lists of Star Trek.
Right, and I don't mean for top list of all of Star Trek, but even top list of Enterprise, no one's talking about this episode.
That's a good point.
I don't know.
And I get that Carbon Creek is everyone's fucking favorite, or First Flight. So you cannot tell me this episode was worse than First Flight.
It was not.
No, First Flight was...
the other one that seems to get reviewed well that I do not agree with is Cogenitor.
Yeah.
That's considered required watching by a lot of people. I do not agree. Yeah. Anyway, little wrap up on the production crew here. So yeah, we're going to take another little break, and we'll be back for some potpourri with Stanford.
Whee!
Potpourri!
Welcome back, everybody. So, today for Potpourri, we're going to do a little bit of a game. This game will be a little different than what we've done in the past. So when we were reviewing that fucking awful episode known as Cogenitor, I had mentioned that it had, and kind of actually as Rob just mentioned not too long ago in the last segment, it pops up on these lists every once in a while. Okay, and one of the lists that I had actually cited for that episode was a Vox article called Star Trek Explained for Non-Trekkies, okay? The crux of that article was a list of 25 essential episodes that like someone should watch in order to understand Star Trek now that it was at its like 50th year anniversary, okay? So, I would like to go through this list, but I'm going to turn it into a little bit of a game, all right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you 5 minutes to list what episodes you think should be on this list, and then whoever gets the most points wins. All right?
Hold on.
I'm going to give you the criteria.
Okay.
Okay. There are 5 shows that are on this list, all right? And each one has 5 episodes, okay?
Jesus.
That's TOS, TNG, DS9, Voyager, and Enterprise. Now, for TOS, one of them is a movie, and for Enterprise, we already know Cogenitor's on there, and there is an episode that we have not seen yet called Similitude, so I will not, don't worry about that one either, because I'm not going to talk about that one because I don't want to spoil it.
God, I'm terrible at episode names.
Well, the names are fine. I don't need names because I have descriptions of them all from Vox. So, if you get the basic idea, you're good to go. So take a few minutes to write down 4 episodes in a movie for TOS, but then 5 episodes for TNG, DS9, Voyager, and then 3 for Enterprise. All right, so again, this is from a Vox article entitled Star Trek Explained for Non-Trekkies. I will put a link in the show notes so that you can find this article if you would so care to. So I'm just going to go down this and mention the titles of the episodes and as brief of a little snot. I'm not going to go through. I'm not going to read the whole article back at you. Y'all could do that. But we're going to start with the original series, and these are in broadcast order for all of the series. So the original series had 4 episodes, and then they also included a movie. Just for shits and giggles, which movie did y'all pick?
Wrath
of Khan.
That is correct. Yes, the Wrath of Khan is obviously what they picked.
Nice.
Wrath of Khan is considered probably the best of the Star Trek movies, so of course that's the one.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of the episodes, we have Devil in the Dark. That's where the Enterprise is called to help a mining colony deal with a subterranean monster. But during their investigations, Kirk and his crew begin to realize the creature might not be quite as monstrous as it appears. This is one where Spock mind melds with a rock monster.
Yeah.
Of course, and again, I have not seen most of these episodes, so but I've definitely heard the titles before. So City on the Edge of Forever is the one that is the next one.
I've heard that one a lot, yeah.
Yeah. That's where they end up in 1930s New York City.
I had that one.
What'd you say?
I had that one.
Oh, nice. Yeah, keep score. Honor system.
Okay.
And then the next episode is Journey to Babel. Let's see. Put Spock in front and center as he receives a visit from his Vulcan father and human mother through the episode. Though the episode perhaps bites off more than it could chew, there's also a subplot about a Federation peace conference. It makes it a good example of the breadth TOS has to offer. And then, of course, the last one that they have is Trouble with Tribbles.
Yeah. All right, I got 3.
I am surprised, Chris, that you did not think of at least Trouble with Tribbles.
Yeah. I mean, I could have. I even thought about the Edge one, but I couldn't I can't guess that because I haven't seen it. So
right.
So the other two I had.
Yeah, what did you have, Rob? Sorry.
The other 2 I had were Amok Time. That's Ponfar.
Yep.
And then the Man Trap.
That's the pilot.
Yeah. And I thought about potentially putting Arena on there too because it's just,
I don't know that one.
That's the one where Kirk is put down on the planet alone and has to invent gunpowder to fight the
Gorn.
Oh, the Gorn.
The Gorn, yeah.
Who just makes a knife and kicks his ass. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Next Generation. First one might be
Wait,
the
what
most.
did Chris have?
Oh, I don't think he had any other ones. He said.
Oh,
No, I didn't. No.
sorry.
Chris put all his eggs in the Next Generation basket.
I did pretty okay on DS9, I think.
First one might be the most obvious. It is Measure of a Man.
Yep, that
Yep.
was the first one on my list.
Yep, that's
Same
where Data is on trial for whether or not he is sentient. The next one is The Hunted.
What happens in that one?
Okay.
Okay. Charged with investigating a planet requesting entry to the Federation, Picard and crew cross paths with a highly trained escaped prisoner.
That episode?
The episode functions as a broad commentary on PTSD and veteran care while highlighting the thoughtful way in which the crew deals with the political problems of other cultures.
Interesting. I mean, I think overall it's a pretty good episode, but I'm surprised I've never seen that episode highlighted in one of these lists.
Interesting. Okay, the next one is Clues.
Which is?
Sorry, hold on. I'm just trying to get the summary together here so I don't have to read the whole thing. Let's see. Proof that not every episode of Star Trek strives for philosophical depth. Clues is a purely enjoyable sci-fi mystery episode that utilizes the entire TNG ensemble while investigating a mysterious, isolated planet. The crew is knocked unconscious for only a few seconds. But as they start to notice oddities around them, they begin to wonder if something more insidious is at work.
I don't remember that episode.
I want to
Okay.
say this one features Beverly.
That description wasn't super helpful.
Well, no, I guess they're trying not to give away the game.
Right.
Is this the one where she ends up like in her own little universe?
Oh, the one where like she's like getting sucked through that hole because it's like the actual Enterprise crew trying to like bring her back. Is that the one? Like I know which one you're talking about.
No. This is not that one.
Okay.
The crew of the Enterprise wakes up after apparently passing through a wormhole, finding mysterious surroundings mysteries surrounding their blackout. Data begins to act suspiciously, prompting the command staff to wonder if he had been compromised. I don't remember this episode at all.
I don't either.
Yeah, I don't either.
This list sucks.
Whoop.
No.
All right, next, another kind of obvious one is Darmok.
Yep.
And then we have, and Darmok, of course, being the one where the aliens talk funny because science. And then the last one is Parallels. After returning from a trip, Klingon Chief of Security Worf begins to notice strange inconsistencies around him.
Man, they picked
I
some
believe
weird ass
that
episodes.
Yeah.
I believe that might be the cellular peptide cake one.
Yeah, that actually is. Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause-
Is that right?
oh no, this is the one where he keeps falling into other dimensions. Isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. Like I know which
yeah.
one it is, but I thought for a second you were right that it was in that, but it's not. No, that's something else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's man. Like it's a fun episode, but they picked some weird TNG episodes outside of like Measure of a Man and like Darmok, just because it's so.
Yeah. Their reasoning is like Clues. This is an enjoyable mystery, but also showcases TNG's ability to blend conceptual sci-fi storytelling with thoughtful character drama.
Interesting.
Not sure I agree with that sentence, but okay.
Yeah, I mean, I had Picard gets tortured, and then Picard learns the flute as another one.
Inner Light,
yeah. Yeah, I had Chain of Command on here too.
Yeah, and then Picard becomes Locutus.
Best of both worlds.
Best of both worlds, yeah.
Yeah, best.
What else did you have, Rob?
I had Conspiracy.
Oh, sure.
Because
that's the one where they
awesome.
fucking melt that dude's face, right?
Yeah.
And then I had Relics. That's the one where they find Scotty.
That's too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I get where you're coming from, but like, it just seemed too. Kitschy's not the right word, but like, hey, look, we brought Scotty on.
I think kitschy's a perfectly fine word for that.
Yeah,
it is. And then I also had Chain of Command. There are 4 lights.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
All right. Deep Space Nine. So this is the only time that the pilot is on. It is Emissary.
Oh, I got that one. Nice.
It actually says the first sentence is Star Trek isn't known for strong pilots, but Emissary introduces the world of DS9 with remarkable finesse.
It was really cool.
The pilot was pretty good for DS9.
It really established Cisco well too.
Yes, it did. Then we have Duet.
Nice.
This all-time great DS9 episode centers on Kira Nerys, one of the series' strongest characters, a former Bajoran freedom fighter, yada, yada, yada. This episode explores the horrors of that occupation via a small-scale character drama that puts Kira face-to-face with the man who may have been responsible for murdering thousands of...
Okay.
I believe this is the one where he's like, she thinks he's a war criminal, but he's in hiding or whatever.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a different Kira featured episode on it.
Sure.
Which was the one where she tries to like, they're like, the Bajoran government is like mining this moon or whatever, and she's trying to like move this guy off of it, but he won't leave his land or whatever. That was a really good episode.
Interesting. I don't remember that one. I don't remember a lot of DS9.
That's where I was with Voyager.
Okay, the next episode they have is Civil Defense. An entertaining disaster movie romp that shows off the entire DS9 ensemble, including his talented supporting cast. When an old Cardassian security program is accidentally activated, Deep Space Nine goes on lockdown. That was a fun episode. I do remember that one.
Is that the one that the fucking Ducat meme comes from?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
I believe so. Because he's on that TV and he keeps saying shit. Yeah, because it's like recordings of him.
Attention Bajoran workers.
Yeah. And then, as may not surprise a lot of people, The Way of the Warrior is on here. This is a very Worf-heavy episode.
See, I didn't put any Worf episodes on this. Interesting.
One of my episodes
is that the
has
one where
Worf
his
in it, but
buddies show up, or or not his buddies, Curzon's Klingon buddies show up?
I believe this might be the episode that Worf shows up in.
Oh, okay.
It is episode 1 of season 4. So I think this is the episode that introduces Worf as a DS9 character.
Interesting.
And then last, the baseball episode, Take Me Out to the Hollow School.
Shut the fuck up. God, there's so many better episodes.
No.
God.
Y'all love a holodeck episode.
The one where Cisco is like is the writer.
Yes.
I had that one too. Far Beyond the Stars.
Far Beyond the Stars. The one where like Nog gets injured at war and has to deal with the injury, and there's one where like Jake is basically like featured as a war reporter. There's like a lot of good episodes, and
there's a lot of good episodes. Yep.
Yeah, I did not pick any of those. I picked 2 other fun ones. Well, at least they were fun for me.
Rob's like Rumpelstiltskin twice.
No. I had Little Green Men. I don't know why I love that episode so much.
I know you do.
Which episode?
Then,
that's when the fucking
the Ferengi go back and right there.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I had Trials and Tribulations. Only because
that's a good
the
episode. That's a fun
was
episode.
So cool.
It was a very cool episode. That's a good one. Yeah.
All right. Voyager. So the first episode they have is Eye of the Needle. Eye of the Needle is where they find like a really tiny wormhole that happens to go back to the Alpha Quadrant.
Yeah.
But it's like a meter wide.
It's tiny.
And they make contact with a Romulan through it, and they can like they start beaming stuff back and forth, and they realize that they can beam the whole crew onto this Romulan ship. But then they find out that like the Romulan is actually back in time, like the wormhole goes through time as well.
Right, yeah.
And so they end up realizing they can't. So they're like they ask that Romulan to let the Federation know that they're out here. And the Romulan's like, I'll do my best. But then like as the call ends, Tuvok's like, yeah, Captain, I looked that Romulan up. He died like 6 years ago. It was like, oh no. So actually not a bad episode. An interesting little bit of
that was a neat episode.
Then we have Deadlock. We're Starfleet officers. Weird is part of the job. Comes from this episode. Let's see. After traveling through a dense nebula, Voyager discovers that it has been quantum duplicated into 2 ships. This episode was actually pretty fucking cool. Do either of you remember this?
It sounds vaguely familiar, but I don't really remember it a whole lot.
Yeah, so they get duplicated into 2 separate ships, but they're like right on top of each other. And so like in order to like deal with the nebula or some shit, they have to do these like ion pulses. And because of how they're doing that, the ion pulses from the one ship starts fucking up the other ship.
Yes, okay, I'm remembering this now.
And so the one ship starts getting really fucked up by the ion pulses. And it looks like it's like, all right, well, I guess we'll just stick with the good ship because it's all intact and everything. But then the Vidians invade that ship. And this is where like Harry and
that's right, because this is where it's Harry's an actual clone for the rest of the series.
Yes, Harry and Naomi Naomi Wildman,
the kid,
Ensign
yeah.
Wildman's baby, are both from the other ship. Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. It was an interesting episode.
Because, like, Harry from the ship that survived gets killed, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
he
okay.
dies in, like, a tragic accident from the ion pulse.
Right.
And the baby dies because there's not enough power
right.
keeping the incubator alive. Yeah,
that was a neat
crazy.
episode. Yeah.
Okay, someone to watch over me. This is okay. The Doctor gives Seven a crash course on dating, providing a lovely showcase for two of Voyagers. So this is where the Doctor starts showing Seven how to, kind of like fit in with the crew.
Yeah.
Okay. Then they have Blink of an Eye. This is the one where there's the aliens on the planet that move a lot faster. So like Voyager is kind of in orbit around this planet, and they're just like
whole society evolves over time.
Yeah, really, really quickly.
Yep.
And then there was the Void. I don't know. This episode, there's a patch of the Delta Quadrant they go through where there's no stars. It's just like dark. It's an interesting episode because it talks about like how isolating it is to be captain, and how like everyone has mental health issues that they're like kind of grappling with because of the isolation of being in the Delta Quadrant for 7 years. It was a good episode.
I had none of those.
Yeah, me neither. I was really. I thought of the one where like we see it's Janeway, but it's actually like her ancestor or whatever.
Oh yeah, the Millennium Tower episode. Yeah.
Yeah. I had the first episode because I thought actually the first episode of this one was of Voyager was good as well. But yeah, that's about all I had for Voyager.
I had Irish pub episode.
But
there's several of those.
Well, the main one is it Honeyside or whatever? Yeah, the name of the episode is the name of the town.
Right.
Yeah. I had Warheads Are People Too. The sentient
Which
warhead.
one, Warhead or Dreadnought? Because those are two
Warhead.
separate sentient torpedoes.
Yeah,
Fucking Voyager.
I remember like digging that up for like a deep dive I had done at one point, and I was just like cackling about how stupid this sounded, but it's also just sounds really funny. I had Tom Paris Steals a Ship. That one
Tom
where like
Paris steals a ship.
Yeah, he like some dude has him swap ships with him, and like he winds up getting hunted by bounty hunters who he then convinces to join him, and then they go and capture the dude who stole
they
the ship
swap
originally.
Bodies. Yeah.
Or yes, yeah. And then I put Threshold on here because I thought it would be funny.
But it is quintessential Star Trek.
It really is.
Yeah.
I'm actually surprised the Chaotic episode isn't on here.
Yeah.
All right, and finally, Enterprise. They go with Dear Doctor because they suck.
I had that one on there. Yeah.
Oh, I thought about putting that on here.
They have Detained, so that's the Al.
What?
That's a weird. I mean, it wasn't good, but
Detained is an early example of Enterprise's interest in political allegory.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, like I get what they were going for. It wasn't a good episode, but I get why they might pick that.
You're gonna be very shocked by the next one.
Carbon Creek.
The Catwalk.
What?
Legit, I almost picked the Catwalk.
Oh my god, no.
Now, I don't disagree with their theoretical reasoning, which is that this episode is a way to show how kind of rough and tumble they were, because they weren't as prepared to be out there as like the later shows were, so they had to like be scrappier. Although, like, I understand that in concept, but like the Catwalk's not a good example of that.
Yeah, I almost picked the Catwalk. I had the Zindi and Carbon Creek on there.
Oh, interesting. I went with The Expanse and Carbon Creek, and then the seventh was my last one.
I had Dear Doctor.
All right, so what were our scores?
Shit. Like I got like 3.
Oh, I got 7.
Jesus.
So I had Wrath of Khan.
I had 4.
City on the Edge of Forever, Trouble of Tribbles, Darmok, Measure of a Man, and then I had Emissary and Duet.
Good for you. That's
Nicely done, yeah. I was thinking you'd blow your wad in original series, but you actually spread it out among those first 3.
Unfortunately, this does not count as trivia.
No, this doesn't count for Rob wins trivia because this is.
I was just gonna check.
I heard Mariah getting excited over there. All right. Well, that was just a fun little jaunt. I had through that article that I want to subject y'all to. So if you like what you hear, or if you don't like what you hear, give us a rating, give us a review. I am dropping. So TikTok kicked us off because I guess copyrighted material, which is ridiculous because the copyrighted material I put on TikTok is not only fair use, but also other people are doing the same thing. Whatever. But I started putting them on YouTube Shorts, and YouTube's like, this shit's fine. Let's roll. So we may actually start getting some more listeners because those shorts have been getting several hundred views and stuff.
Nice.
Or excuse me, several thousand views, several hundred like enough of a view to count as a full watch.
Okay.
So hopefully we'll start getting some more listeners and they can throw us some reviews and tell us just how badly we're actually doing at this.
Sweet.
I like it.
Until then, I guess we will see you all next week. Happy birthday, Chris.
Happy birthday.
Bye-bye.